Marriage is nothing, singleness is nothing, but what's important is doing God's will for your life. Are you happy with where you are in life? Being Jewish is nothing, being Gentile is nothing, but what's important is living out God's call on your life. The grass is always greener on the other side. We have to remember where we are is also the other side of the fence. Maybe you struggle and you say, you know what? I mean, if you're looking at the fact, you say, okay, I'm divorced, and should I get married? Do I have the freedom to do that? I think that the ideal standard is that if a divorce was carried out and it wasn't a biblical grounding for divorce, I think the ideal is for you to remain single and for the purpose of seeking reconciliation with your previous spouse. I find it interesting that my mother and my father, even though my father got engaged twice and my mother, she had done some dating and some serious relationships, it never really came about. There was always something that came up, and I kind of wonder if it maybe wasn't the Lord protecting them, because I can tell you, I can look at their divorce and it was not on biblical grounds. There was no legitimate reason for them to depart. So my encouragement is for you to seek reconciliation. But I understand that a lot of people have different perspectives on what the exception clause means and whether or not it means to, and I think we also have to look at this issue of the burning of the heart, and we know that Yeshua didn't come to abolish the Torah, and we know that Torah makes allowances. But I think if we're looking at the highlight or the prioritized perspective of what the call was for Yeshua and for the early believers, and is that marriage is an indissoluble union between a man and a woman. And the ideal is to not re-seek marriage if your divorce was not grounded on something biblical. But we have to remember that where we are is where we are, right? And so what if you're struggling and you say, you know what, is my marriage even valid? You know what, I don't think that's really even a good question to ask, because, again, like we said a couple of weeks ago, going and getting a divorce is not going to accomplish anything, and it's going to only create more complications. The point is to say, Lord, how can you use us today? And the point is, if you're single, you can say, Lord, how can you use me today?